Blood trickled down Thomas's temple as he tried to orient himself. The world spun slightly, the blue sky tilting at an odd angle above him. Across the street, Mrs. Hernandez dropped her gardening shears and rushed toward him. 2 doors down, retired Army veteran Frank Keller was already on his phone, presumably calling 911. "Thomas, oh my God, are you okay?" Mrs. Hernandez helped him to a sitting position. Her hands fluttered nervously over his wound without touching it. "I saw everything. That man attacked you." Thomas winced, gingerly touching the back of his head. "Did anyone get his license plate?" "Partial," came Frank's gruff voice as he approached. "Got the first 3 digits before he rounded the corner. Kellam something. Police are on their way." He knelt beside Thomas, his old military training kicking in as he examined the wound with practiced efficiency. "Head wounds bleed like crazy, but this looks superficial. Still, you might have a concussion." Thomas's mind raced despite the throbbing pain. He said he was from the HOA, but we don't have one. Never have. Mrs. Hernandez's expression darkened. "My sister in Oakville had something similar happen last month. Man came to her door with some official-looking clipboard, started rattling off violations. She was new to the neighborhood, didn't know any better. Paid him $350 on the spot." "Did she report it?" Thomas asked. "No," Mrs. Hernandez sighed. She was embarrassed when the real HOA told her they'd never sent anyone. She thought she'd just look foolish. In the distance, sirens wailed. Thomas's phone lay on the grass, its screen shattered from the fall. He reached for it anyway, relieved when it still powered on. With trembling fingers, he pulled up his brother Jake's number. "You sure you want to call your brother at work?" Frank asked, eyebrow raised. "Dispatch will be sending officers anyway." Thomas nodded grimly. "Jake needs to know. This isn't just about me getting pushed around. If Mrs. Hernandez is right, this guy is running some kind of scam across multiple neighborhoods." As Thomas pressed the call button, he noticed something glinting in the grass, a small gold-colored pin, shaped like a house with the letters HOA embossed on it. It must have fallen from Pearson's shirt during the scuffle. Thomas picked it up, turning it over in his palm. "Thomas." Jake's voice came through the phone, professional and unaware. "Everything okay? I'm at work." "No," Thomas replied, still staring at the pin. "It's not okay. I was just assaulted by someone claiming to be from an HOA we don't have. And I think I might have a piece of evidence that could help identify him." The sound of approaching sirens grew louder. Neighbors had formed a small crowd at the edge of Thomas's lawn, murmuring among themselves. Someone had brought out a first aid kit. Another neighbor offered a cold pack from their freezer. "Stay where you are." Jake's voice had changed. "All business now. I'm dispatching officers to your location myself. Don't touch anything else at the scene." As Thomas ended the call, he looked around at his neighbors, people who had come to his aid without hesitation. Whatever this fake HOA officer's game was, he had picked the wrong neighborhood to target. This wasn't just a community on paper. These people looked out for each other. The first police cruiser rounded the corner, lights flashing. Thomas closed his fingers around the golden pin, a strange sense of determination replacing his initial shock. This wasn't over, it was just beginning. Target approaching Sector 4. Detective Yu's voice came through soft and clear in Jake's earpiece. She continued gardening without looking up, her movements natural as she pressed seedlings into the soil. Jake adjusted the camera view on his monitor, zooming in on the silver sedan cruising slowly down Magnolia Street. Harold Winters had arrived right on schedule, just as Jake had predicted. The man was methodical to a fault. "All units hold position," Jake instructed. "Let him make the first move." Inside the command van, the air was thick with tension. Captain Reynolds stood behind Jake, hands clasped behind his back. They pulled significant resources for this operation: 4 undercover officers, surveillance equipment, and backup units stationed just outside the neighborhood. Jake's eyes burned from staring at his computer screen for hours. Dawn was breaking, pale light filtering through his blinds as he connected yet another red string on his makeshift investigation board. Coffee cups littered his desk, evidence of his all-night research session. His phone buzzed. "Thomas. How's the head?" Jake asked, immediately concerned. Better. Doctor says no concussion, just a nasty cut. You sound terrible. Jake rubbed his face. Been up all night. This guy, Winters, he's not just some random con artist. I found connections to at least 7 neighborhoods in our county alone. Winters? I thought his name was Pearson. Harold Winters. That's his real name. The RHA pin you found? Regional Housing Authority. He was their chairman until 2 years ago. Jake pinned another newspaper clipping to his board, a small article about embezzlement charges that were ultimately dropped due to insufficient evidence. The guy knows exactly how housing authorities operate because he used to run one. Thomas whistled low. So he's using that knowledge to scam people. It's more calculated than that. Jake flipped through his notes. Suspect is westbound on Riverdale, approaching the highway interchange, crackled a voice over the radio. Jake gripped the edge of the command center desk, watching the GPS trackers of police units converging like hunting wolves. 3 screens displayed different traffic camera angles as Winter's silver sedan weaved through traffic, narrowly missing a delivery truck. Jake had never expected the man to be such a skilled driver, another miscalculation that had nearly cost them the operation. He's taking the Highway 16 ramp, reported Officer Dawson from the Lee pursuit vehicle. Request permission to deploy spike strips at the Carter Road overpass. Captain Reynolds grabbed the mic. Negative. Too much civilian traffic. Maintain pursuit, but do not escalate. Jake's mind raced. Winters was heading toward the county line, where jurisdiction would complicate matters. They needed to end this now. He pulled up the satellite map of the area, searching for choke points. Riverdale Bridge, he muttered, then grabbed the radio. All units, he's going to try crossing at Riverdale. It's the only way to reach the county line without hitting major traffic. Years of hunting trips with his father and brother flashed through Jake's mind. Sheriff Mitchell, showing his sons the back roads and terrain features of their county. A forgotten maintenance access road ran alongside the river, bypassing 3 miles of highway. Jake clicked on the main channel. Unit 7, cut through the Montgomery property. Dad showed us that shortcut last Christmas. If Sheriff Mitchell's tactic works, we can box him in at Riverdale Bridge. Inside his vehicle, Winters was frantically scanning radio frequencies. Standard procedure for career criminals. Stay 1 step ahead of law enforcement by monitoring their communications. Jake knew this, had counted on it. The traffic camera at the bridge approach captured the exact moment Winters processed what he'd heard. His face transformed, eyes widening, mouth falling open in horrified recognition. The man who had assaulted Thomas Mitchell, brother of Jake Mitchell, was now being hunted by officers following orders from Jake Mitchell, son of Sheriff Mitchell. Winters' sedan swerved violently. Whether from panic or a desperate attempt to change course, the maneuver sent his vehicle fishtailing. Tires screeched against pavement, leaving black streaks as the car spun, crashed through the guardrail, and plummeted 20 feet into the drainage culvert below. Suspect vehicle down. Riverdale Bridge, east approach. Officer Dawson's voice was tense with adrenaline. Request immediate medical and fire response. The command center erupted into activity. Jake remained frozen, staring at the screen where smoke rose from the crumpled sedan. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Mitchell. Captain Reynolds placed a hand on his shoulder. This isn't on you. He made his choice when he ran. Jake finally tore his eyes from the screen. Is he alive? Officers on scene reporting movement in the vehicle. Paramedics are 3 minutes out. Relief flooded through Jake, followed immediately by a wave of professional detachment. I need to be there for the arrest, and we need a warrant for his residence, immediately. Reynolds nodded. Already on it. Judge Watkins is standing by to sign electronically. One more thing, Jake said, gathering his jacket. I want to be the one to call my brother. On the drive to the crash site, Jake kept replaying the sequence of events in his mind. Had he deliberately mentioned his father, knowing Winters might be monitoring? Had some part of him wanted to frighten the man who had attacked his brother? The line between justice and personal vendetta suddenly seemed razor-thin. As Jake pulled up to the chaotic scene, flashing lights, emergency vehicles, officers securing the perimeter. His phone rang. Thomas. Just heard the scanner traffic, his brother said. You got him? Jake watched paramedics loading a stretcher into an ambulance, Winter's form strapped down and immobilized, an officer by his side. Yeah, Jake replied. We got him. But there's something else going on here, Thomas. Something bigger than we thought. The courtroom fell silent as Winter's final words hung in the air. Nobody questions my authority in my communities. His face remained impassive, eyes cold and unblinking, as he stared at Thomas on the witness stand. Thomas suppressed a shiver. 6 months had passed since the attack, but something about Winter's gaze still unsettled him deeply. The psychological evaluation had diagnosed Winters with narcissistic personality disorder and delusions of authority, but clinical terms couldn't capture the hollow emptiness behind those eyes. Judge Harriet Simmons removed her glasses, rubbing the bridge of her nose. Mr. Winters, your lack of remorse is as disturbing as your crimes. The court sentences you to 15 years without the possibility of parole, with mandatory psychological treatment throughout your incarceration. As officers led Winters away, he turned one last time toward Thomas, his expression finally changing, a slight curl of the lip, almost a smile. Thomas looked away. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed the Mitchell brothers. Jake fielded most questions, his experience as a public servant evident in his measured responses. Thomas stood quietly beside him until a young reporter asked, "How does it feel knowing your community garden inspired similar projects in 2 other neighborhoods?" Thomas blinked in surprise. "I wasn't aware of that. The Oak Ridge and Pinecrest communities both started gardens last month," she explained. "They cited your project as inspiration." Later that evening, Thomas sat on his porch swing, watching neighborhood children helping harvest the first vegetables from the community garden. The plot had expanded beyond his side yard, incorporating donated space from 3 adjacent properties. What had begun as a simple vegetable garden had transformed into the neighborhood's gathering place. Mrs. Hernandez approached, offering him a glass of lemonade. "Mail came while you were at court," she said, handing him an envelope. "It's from Riverdale Prison." Thomas stared at the return address, his stomach tightening. "Winters, want me to stay while you read it?" she asked. Thomas nodded gratefully. The single-page letter was brief, the handwriting meticulous. Asterisk Mitchell, asterisk. Asterisk my sentence is excessive. A misunderstanding blown out of proportion by your brother's influence. I've filed an appeal citing conflict of interest and judicial misconduct. You'll be hearing from my attorney asterisk. Asterisk, the communities I managed were orderly, pristine. Your gardens are a chaotic eyesore. Authority exists for a reason. Structure protects society from individuals who think rules don't apply to them asterisk. Asterisk remember this. I'll be watching how your community project unfolds. From my window, I can see how order deteriorates when left to the whims of the masses asterisk. Asterisk with deepest concern. Asterisk. Asterisk Harold Winters, Regional Housing Authority. Red asterisk. Thomas handed the letter to Mrs. Hernandez, whose expression darkened as she read. He's still delusional. Riverdale Prison is 40 miles away. He can't see anything from there. It's not about seeing, Thomas said quietly. It's about control. Even locked away, he wants us to feel watched. Jake's police cruiser pulled into the driveway. He joined them on the porch, immediately noticing the letter. Winters. Thomas nodded, threatening an appeal, claiming conflict of interest. Jake shrugged. Let him try. District attorney says his case is airtight. They fell silent, watching a group of children racing between garden rows, their laughter carrying across the yard. Where Winters had seen chaos, Thomas saw something beautiful emerging, a community defining itself. You know what's strange? Thomas said finally. If he hadn't attacked me that day, none of this would exist. He gestured toward the garden where neighbors of all ages worked together, sharing stories and produce. His attempt to enforce his twisted version of order created something he'd hate even more. Mrs. Hernandez raised her lemonade glass to unintended consequences. The Mitchell brothers clinked their glasses against hers as the evening sun bathed the garden in golden light. In the distance, a family arrived with a casserole dish for the community dinner. Another brought folding chairs. Children chased butterflies between tomato plants. Thomas smiled, finally understanding the most fitting justice of all. Winters had wanted compliance and control, but his actions had catalyzed connection and community instead, a living, growing monument to everything he had fought against.